Sit right down and I'll show you where my dreams begin.
We're just excited that you're joining us in this very special house called Food is Religion. We are now 7,900 members strong around the world. And we talk about food, we talk about culinary arts, we talk about lots of things around food, but also about culture. Today, I'm really excited to host this talk show. I host it once a month. And then we have this talk show every month on Sundays. We have incredible conversation. You are here in the Food is Religion house. And today I have two very special guests. They are the Wandering Foodudes, and they have a YouTube show, and they travel all over the US and sometimes around the world to connect and create amazing experiences around food. So please welcome to our virtual stage, Poetic and Fisch.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Fisch. I'm very excited to be here, and this is going to be a wonderful discussion.
Well, welcome, Fisch. And Poetic.
Hey, everybody. I'm Poetic. I'm the crazy one.
You are the crazy one. What makes you so crazy?
I'm just nuts. I'm a very blunt, very outgoing ADHD kind of person, so I just like to be adventurous and just, be insane sometimes.
I love it. I love it. And this, for you guys, this is your first experience on Clubhouse, I think, right?
Yes.
Cool. You're going to love it. And welcome. So let's kick it off. Let's get started. Can you share your earliest memory related to food? How are you connected to food? Was it as a child? Was it growing up?
Go ahead, Fish. You can go first.
Some of my earliest memories is I come from a large family, 6 kids.
Oh.
So my dad's de-stressor was cooking, and I remember hanging out in the kitchen and helping him chop veggies and stuff like that. And when I was in the military, I got to go to quite a few different countries, and really started enjoying food from different places.
What kind of food?
Well, everything from Japanese food. My dad used to make a really good Navajo fry bread that he got from his father. Stews. He would always go out of his way to bring home something new to try. Like one day he made rattlesnake chili for us.
Oh my gosh. I've had rattlesnake actually. I went to school, as you guys know, I'm from Seattle and you're from Seattle, but I went to school at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, in Eastern Washington. And there was a roommate that I had from Colville, Washington, which was kind of a desert area. So he brought rattlesnake and he had it with Italian dressing and teriyaki sauce. So 2 different kinds. And it's actually pretty good. So that's interesting, rattlesnake. Okay. What about you, Poetic?
Well, I grew up in a very crazy Hispanic family where, I grew up with like a lot of people in my household. And I remember that my first meal that I actually cooked was when I was 8 years old. I always saw my mom cooking and I was like interested. So I made eggs, bacon, and toast. That was my first actual intro into cooking because I always had so many women in my life, my aunts, my uncles, women and men, aunts, uncles, and everybody cooking. And then from then on, it just became a passion of learning how my mom did it and my grandmother. So I would always learn. I always loved eating. I was a very active person. And then from there, I just went to, culinary trade school and then started traveling more. And I decided, I just love food like that enough to where it's, became a passion.
Similar for me. I grew up around seafood, actually. My dad was in the Coast Guard. So one of the things he would do was bring home lobster, from a ship. And I don't know whether he coerced it or what happened, but we ended up with lobster and I got hooked on lobster. And then we spent a lot of time on the ocean in salt water. So we had clams, mussels, scallops, you name it, as a kid. And I was pretty spoiled in that way. So I got really hooked on seafood. And to this day, I'm a seafood addict. And I think you guys can relate, it's a total addiction. But it's a good addiction to have, I think.
Amen.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how this kind of idea of the Wandering Foodudes came about and a little bit about your background so we can kind of shape and understand why you created the Wandering Foodudes.
This one was pretty fun. Me and Robert,
Cool.
we used to be coworkers at
Love it.
and we met there. We started going out places, and because of that, we're like, we love food. We hung out quite a bit. We became good friends, and then next thing you know, he's like, we should record this and make a YouTube, really just throwing around, just having fun. I was like, that'd be kind of cool. And then we went to one place, a hot dog place, to start doing it in Seattle. And we were doing it from the phone, but we had no clue how to do anything. So we're getting ready to start doing it. We did our first video, which we ended up posting up on our YouTube. And as you can see, it's like during the pandemic. Everything was happening, no haircuts, no nothing. So we were just looking messed up as could be. And so we started doing it, and we did the first video from my cell phone, and it was horrible. It was just beyond horrible.
I can relate.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. But it was fun. And then I didn't put it up. And this is where me and him being a duo works, because like
For a full year, you didn't put it up.
yeah,
Yeah,
for a whole year.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't motivated. And then like I was like, I don't
I
know.
get it.
And then
Totally
he's like,
get it.
bro, if we're gonna do it, we got to put it up. We got to do it. So then I was like, you know what? Fine. So January 4th comes along of 2022. We finally put it up, and we started like, you know what? Let's do this for a legit, thing. And we're like, fine, let's do it. So we started, we were both working, both making money. So we went out, started doing the videos. We bought a camera, started going from there. And then next thing you know, it just took off. We're like, you know what? Let's take this seriously. Is this something that we
Wow.
really want to do? And he's like, I want to do it. And then like, I'm the kind of person that I get a lot of ideas, because like I have ADHD and stuff and OCD. And like for me, it's like I have ideas and I want to do them. And sometimes it's hard for me to complete them, but he's the kind of person that he'll remind me nonstop. So like I'll have the ideas, he'll
Nice.
have this, and he'll like motivate me to make sure we complete those ideas. And that's why we work so well together. Like he pushes me to make sure I complete what I'm thinking. And then I make sure we keep coming up with these weird, crazy things. And then so it works out beautifully. Like us together, it's a duo that was made to happen.
Wow, that's awesome. And how about you, Fish?
Yeah, it just as he was saying, we were hanging out and it was like, oh, we eat out anyways. Let's make these videos. It kind of flowed from there. And whenever one of us would start flagging or feeling down on it, it was like, well, the statistic says it's going to take this long, and we're doing just fine, and just keep working towards it. And whatever one person has a weakness on, the other person usually has a strength. Like I
Exactly.
do paperwork.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you guys understand. Like I'm the quote unquote creative, but like without Fish doing what he does
Right.
with paperwork, and then also motivating, because like he said, it's one of those where we, if one of us is feeling down, the other one's able to pick, help the other one get back up. People don't realize paperwork is I just can't do it. I don't know how he does it. If it wasn't for him doing the paperwork, I don't think
So give us
that's
an
far.
example of paperwork. Let's talk about paperwork. What's involved?
Feel free, Fish. That's all you.
I'd love to know.
Well, so for example, one of our future trips is to the Caribbean. We're
Nice.
still working all the details out. While Poetic would be calling the restaurants, confirm that, hey, can we come in and shoot? Can we interview some chefs? That kind of stuff. I'll be
Okay.
going, okay, is a work visa needed? Okay, great. It's
Wow.
not be for this particular reason, but if we do this, it is. I would start applying for the visas. If we have when we drew up the contract with our video guy, Josue, great guy, I would then take the lawyer's documents, read over it, make sure that we understood, what's all required of us,
Okay.
and then restate that in, more human terms.
Got it. Wow. Yeah. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't understand or know about that goes into it, right? Just like for podcasting for me, there's all this other stuff,
What
right?
people don't realize is that there's a lot of it's really fun and it's a blessing to be able to do this.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more behind the scenes work than people realize, whether it's podcasting, YouTubing, Instagram and stuff. There's just so much more analytical stuff behind it. Like when we first started doing it, I think, Robert, it took us like 6 hours for our first actual video with our videographer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was like us learning like how we want to do it. And he was shy at the time, and I'm the kind of person like I'm very, very blunt. Like I'm like to the point of like people are like shocked sometimes, and I'm like, look, this is the deal. When I first hired him, I went through like 40, 50 people, and I was
Oh,
like, look,
wow.
this is the deal. Yeah, we went through a lot of people, and I was like, look, this is the deal. We don't have much money. This is how much we're able to pay,
Right.
for each video, so on and so forth. And a lot of them, when we first started, it was he was very, very, very underpaid for what he was doing. And I told him that, like, that's how blunt I am. I'm like, hey, look, I know we're underpaying you, but if you believe in us, you believe in the dream and what we're doing, we'll get you to that point that you're going to be getting paid amazingly and able to travel. And he was like, you know what? I love your dream. I love what you guys are doing. He was willing to work with us. And it's those behind the scenes things that are like, people don't realize, like, it's fun, but it's so much work that, like, it can eventually drain you. And that's why I'm beyond blessed, because, you know, we have him now as our guy, plus his girlfriend, who, Gio, she's our photographer / new videographer. And then, of course, we got Fisch here boggling us with the paperwork of life. We're a very close team, but, like, the behind the scenes things it's just insane. It's insane.
Well, you made me think of something else for you guys. So when you get down, because it happens for me as a podcaster, I feel energy drained sometimes. How do you get re-energized? What do you do?
Well, let's let Fisch say that one, because Fisch is the very is it introvert or extrovert? I can't remember.
I'm the introvert amongst 3 Latino extroverts, and
Wow.
Well, I'm an ambivert. I'm an ambivert person.
That's where I am too.
I like my quietness, but I like my
That's
craziness.
how
But
we
Fisch
synced
is
up, man. That's how we synced up. I felt your energy, and I was like, "This is so cool, so cool."
Fisch is amazing though. Fisch, for being for being as he is. Tell him what you do to, like.
Yeah, let's hear it.
so just to use this last trip that we did a series of 7 videos in Las Vegas. We were shooting, back to back to back, like 3 or 4 days in a row. And I went, I love you guys. You're great, but I don't want to speak to you guys. I'm going to go to my room and hide.
Okay.
But between, video shoots, a lot of times I like to play Warhammer 40,000.
Oh.
So they get a plastic little dollies, push around the map, roll some dice, and see who ends up winning. So I do that a lot. I read a lot of books.
What do you read?
I have a fondness for dime novels. So Kindle Unlimited is kind of my bane of my existence, both positive and negatives. So buy those cheap $1-2 books and read through it to see how young authors are starting to shape their styles.
Oh wow, very cool. So how do you re-energize Poetic? Is it people?
It's half and half.
Okay.
I know one of the things, because I'm an ambivert, so I'm able to be around people, but I also sometimes like to not be around people.
Time.
So so, like, usually lately what we've been doing a lot is when we go to any locations, I'm making sure there's a pool there. Just because, first of all, it's hot for a lot of the locations that I've been doing lately, and second, it's just the pool actually really relaxes me. Now, if we were to go somewhere that didn't have a pool or something to that effect, have a thing where we're all kind of like, we'll separate into our own rooms that we have, and because we usually get an Airbnb, so because it's just cheaper in the long run. So we'll all split to our own rooms and do our own thing. Between that, or if we do something together, but like separately, in terms of like trying to like recuperate, the one thing that me and Fisch have done a lot, which we started getting our camera crew in with us, is hookah.
What is hookah?
Hookah's like, how would you describe it, Fisch?
One way people like to describe it is it's very similar to, smoking a bong, right? It's water vapor smoking.
Okay.
Like a fruit molasses, would you say, Fisch? Like a molasses with tobacco, basically.
Yeah, molasses, tobacco, some sort of fruit flavoring, typically.
So for the record, it's not illegal.
No, not illegal at all.
Hookah's in every single state. We actually have one we go to in Seattle, the I Hookah Lounge. Shout out to Shadi. He's our guy that we met there. It's it's basically just actual fruit mixed with tobacco and molasses, and that becomes it's a very huge thing in the Middle East. Dominican Republic is a huge place where they have a lot of hookah as well. It's not where it's from, but lots of one of the Spanish countries that actually uses hookah quite a bit. But hookah is just very fun, relaxing. There's usually and just go with your friends, relax, and it smells fruity. It's it's simple, it's delicious. It's it's just a good time to kind of de-stress.
Yeah, cool. Because it's not all fun. No, I get it. It can be a lot of work. Kitchens in general create stress.
Yeah.
God, I spent 10 years in the restaurant business. I went to cooking school, and we had talked to Poetic, and I remember you mentioned cooking school. Where did you go?
So I went to a culinary trade school. So I was going through a lot when I was younger, because I was a very big rebel. Yeah, I was a black sheep.
Common.
Yeah, I went to Shriver Job Corps to start learning how to do culinary, and I was like, okay, let me see. There's a culinary program. You get to live there and stuff. So I'm like, like, this is probably going to be what's best for me. So I went there to do an actual, I had two chefs there, Chef Craig and Chef Lynn, and they taught us really well and started doing that. And then my big opportunity to really, really learn came when we were on there. They they try to help you before you're ready to leave, try to find a job within the industry that you chose. So I ended up choosing to do the cruise ship. The cruise ship came by and said, hey, we're looking for cooks and stuff.
Cool.
Cooks and dishwashers. And I was like, I'm down. And I was the only one who was ballsy enough to be like, you know what? I'm doing it.
Wow.
So I got on Norwegian Cruise Line to do cooking and stuff, and it was the best experience I've ever had in my life. It was that's where my culinary became kind of solidified in terms of learning how to cook, and especially in that kind of environment, which you work 7 days a week. There is no day off.
That's what I heard. 7 days a week. What was so great about it?
The 7 days a week part was not fun.
Right.
It was learning how to cook so many dishes so quickly. You're working with the team. When we first did it, they're like, we don't have any room for anybody in the kitchen right now. You can start off as a dishwasher. And then, as soon as the spot's open, we'll switch you guys over to it. So I was like, you know what? I'm down for it. So I did the dishwashing for the first few months, and then they would put us back and forth in the kitchen, cooking, learn how to work with a lot of people, how to have that real brotherhood. This is where I really got my experience in. The 7 days a week was horrible because it's 5 months on. So you're doing this for 5 months straight. The only time you had a day off is if you were really sick. And then if you were sick, you had to stay. One of the rules was you had to stay in the room. You couldn't leave it. You had to be quarantined in the room. It does, or if you asked 4 weeks in advance for a day off, then you could get it as long as there was enough people. So it was hectic. Basically, imagine Vegas on a boat where there's always something to do, always something crazy, always busy. Because we worked. The minimum hours that I worked that I remember was 12 hours.
Wow.
We didn't go underneath 12. So and the most that we worked in a day was 16 to 18. So it was hectic. It was a lot of work, but you learn so much from all these chefs, very well-known chefs, some not so well-known chefs, and there's people who are just learning how to do it. So it was just an experience in general.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Probably cooked a lot of different dishes and got to try it.
Yeah. A lot of lobster like you did.
Lobster?
Yeah.
That's definitely one of my favorite foods. Yeah, that's so cool. And then I look and you have over 58,000 subscribers and 90 videos. How did you pull that off?
God, a lot of work. Me and Fisch, we've known each other going on 5 years now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And we communicate. That's the one thing we agreed upon when we first started. That's how we became friends. We were going out to bars and stuff after work and drinking and stuff.
Love it.
The one thing we agreed upon was that when we first started this is we're going to continue it as if when we used to go out, because we're very open to learning and understanding. We're very blunt with each other, so there is no hiding stuff. If someone's all of a sudden does something that the other one doesn't like, or someone gets mad, if we're not able to talk about it at that very moment, we usually give each other at least within 24 hours. We'll make sure that we bring it up. Usually we do it through hookah if we don't do it on Messenger, just because, text can be misread. Unfortunately, it can be misread in the wrong way. So we usually go to hookah within 24 hours and be like, hey, look, this is what I didn't like. You did this, this, and this. And then we resolve it quickly so that we're good. So we work together in a way that there's never an argument. Honestly, it's just this is how we were able to push forward and do what we needed to, because we listen to each other, we communicate, we push it through, and Fisch just motivates the shit out of me.
And I was going to say, how the hell did you grow to this so quickly? That's a mystery to me. That's fascinating. You have an amazing following. How do you stay connected to your listeners as you grow?
Well, one of the big things that Poetic is really good at is reaching out to people and talking to them. As he started talking to you, he started doing that to quite a few other people. He's taking classes in how to market and how to do social media stuff. And so he spent a lot of time looking into that and trying new things. And then, a couple months ago, we were at 5,000 subscribers, and he changed something he was doing, and we had a couple ads out, and suddenly went from 5,000 to 50,000 in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And we're just like, holy cow, this is exciting. This is crazy.
Yeah, about 2 weeks. I know we had it was 2,000 at first that we had, and we were like, oh, we reached it. This is amazing. And then we went from that, and then I switched a few of the things for search engine optimization. I switched the tags, the hashtags, certain things, and all this other stuff. And then it went from 2,000 to 10,000 in 3 weeks, give or take. Yeah, we jumped up to that number to 40 something thousand, and then now we're at 58, and it's a lot of like grinding, it's just grinding, moving forward, not forgetting, keep posting. We literally just posted a video yesterday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time about our newest place that we went to in Vegas. So it's just a lot of keeping up on the marketing, the tags and the hashtags, because that one you actually have to go in every now and then, every few weeks, to change them, keep up with the trends, and make sure everything's good. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of at all sorts of times to get it done. But this wouldn't happen had it not been that we wanted to really do this. And also, like I said, as much as he gives me praise, and I do all the marketing and stuff, Robert motivates me to keep going. If I'm just not feeling something, he's like, yeah, but don't forget, without Robert, I don't think I'd be here right now, honestly.
Well, I mean, you guys pivot off each other, which is really cool. It's kind of rare to see that, that friends work together and stay friends. That's pretty cool. And you get to travel all over together.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun.
That's very, very unique. But can you describe what feeling was like? Because I mean, you're very humble about it, right? You're at 5 and now you're at 50 and then you're almost at 60. And it looks like 930,000 views for your stats from what I could see, which that's pretty impressive.
Just a week ago, I got a notification on Facebook that this time last year, that'd be a week ago, we were at 1,000 subscribers and didn't quite hit our 4,000 for hours needed to be monetized. And so we go from that to looking back at it to now. It's such a huge difference. And part of what keeps me humble is there's always something more to strive for, always somebody, the next giant to overcome and take down so that you get to stand there. The big part during all that, you also have to remember how you got there. All the people who helped you, amount of times, hey, friends and family, can you please at least watch our video, even if you put it on mute, so that we can get some of the views, and all those kind of things just remind me of why we do it. And then we hear back from one of the restaurants and getting some more traffic because of it. And that really is like, oh, okay, we're actually doing something to help. The feel goodness of it keeps you from building ahead.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, when you can lift somebody else up, I love doing that on the podcast. It's just that exposure and feeling of humanity that you're giving back to humanity is really, really cool. As you're going along this journey, we hit the pandemic. Did that pose any challenges for you?
Oh God.
Of course it did.
Yeah. So so our first video, like I was saying before, our first video we went at Sunrise Dog. That was the first place we went to in Seattle, in the International District. And if you look at that video, Fisch is like crazy bearded. I had we were just a mess. And that's because I couldn't do anything. And it was just one of those where the pandemic, it made it, I guess you could say, easier but hard. It was easy to go out and do something and be away from people because people were being so careful. It's also difficult because it's a lot of places, were kind of closed and not really there. We've done a few places that we did a place or two that unfortunately they didn't make it through the pandemic. And one of those things where the pandemic just really, that's kind of when we decided to do it, is we're this is our time. I remember seeing, I don't remember the quote exactly, but it was on Twitter. And this guy, the basic gist of it was if you didn't, the pandemic was because so many people were stuck at home. This was a time to either learn something new, get an education of some sort, because everyone was stuck at home, especially Seattle. We were one of the first states to, be quarantined for such a long time. So this is your time to get something out of it, whether it's classes, learning a new career, switching a new career, doing something. And this is when we decided, this is our chance to do it, and if you don't come out of this pandemic with either learn something, opening a business or doing a passion that you really wanted to do, then what were you really doing? Because all you were doing was staying at home on lockdown waiting,
Right.
This is kind of where our motivation came in. We're like, you know what? We like to go out to eat. We love hanging out as friends. We love to drink, eat, and have fun. So let's move forward and see what we can do. And, the trials that we had was really just finding places that were open to be able to do it and willing to try to get it done. The camera angles that we had for the first few videos, it was just me literally sometimes on the go trying to figure out how to use it. And a lot of the times with me on YouTube, watching videos for hours, just trying to figure out, okay, this is how we need to do it. I watched, I don't know how many YouTube videos just to figure out the camera settings that we had for the camera that we had in the beginning.
I think that it did create a lot of opportunities for people that were open to it. A lot of the interviews that I did, I started in the pandemic myself, The interviews were watching some of these chefs leave the kitchen and go on YouTube or do a Zoom class, right? Branch out in a different direction because secretly they wanted to do cooking class. So all of a sudden they're doing cooking class. So these opportunities that come about because of the pandemic, and embracing that and even embracing your fear, right? Because we all have fear. There are listeners out there and there's something that's holding you back. You should go for it. Because look at what these guys did. What you're doing is fantastic for the hospitality industry. So how do you go about planning and brainstorming your next trip? Like I remember seeing some stuff about Denver and oh my God, the lobster rolls, you were killing me. I hadn't eaten and I was just watching you guys eat these lobster rolls in Denver. But how do you plan for that? Like, do you strategize months in advance?
So there's actually quite the process we go through.
Okay,
So usually we have one of our hookah meetings and we go, okay, well,
cool.
what's some of the last things we've done before? Okay, we've done this, and this lately. Let's go to Denver because we've partnered with a wonderful guy who owns Mile High Food Truck there. Let's go
Oh,
and
yeah.
go shoot a promotional video for him. Well, that didn't end up happening, but we ended up wanting to do food reviews as well while we were there. And we're like,
Okay.
well, what do you look for in a landlocked state? It's like, well, how do you find seafood that's not when you are landlocked? Because you
Yeah.
typically that's not something you would trust, right? And so Poetic went out of his way to find a bunch of great seafood places, and then so that we could describe exactly what you're looking for in that matter.
Exactly.
Just to use that.
Like you said, it's a lot of research. Like our hookah
Okay.
meetings are actually very important because it's not just our de-stressor time, but that's actually when we that's actually our business meeting is when we sit down and we do that and we discuss, okay, what do we want to do next? And then once we figure that, what location we want next, that's when I go into my marketing mode and my phone calls and all that crazy stuff and start figuring out where we're gonna go. But it's always during our hookah meetings that we, like you said, that we have our best ideas. He's always like,
Yeah.
"Hey, it's hookah time." I was like, "Okay, I'm ready. Let's go." And then we go, and we'll be there for 3-4 hours, just talking, reminiscing, doing everything that that's needed.
So creating visually appealing content is critical on YouTube and social media. How do you approach food styling and presenting for these dishes that you're reviewing to make them really enticing on camera?
Oh, so when we first started, it was I always took pictures of food anyways. But when we first started doing like the photograph ones when we're doing our stuff for Instagram, because on Instagram we have like 56,000, or I believe,
Hmm.
on Instagram, 57,000. And so when we were doing Instagram, it was just I went online to YouTube and I YouTubed how to take food pictures, and I started learning from there. Then I
Hmm.
took some food classes on different apps and different things to learn how to make the pictures look good, because what people don't realize is it's not always just the top angle or just like a side angle. There's so many different ways to take food photos to make them look good, or how to place the plate in a certain way. So I ended up learning how to do all that, and then after doing that, it was where for the videos, it was just when we first started, we didn't know what we were doing. I learned how
Sure.
to use settings and stuff, but like how to do the best settings for the camera. But honestly, it was just one where we put the camera, set it up, and either lifted the food to show people, or we zoomed in. We'd have to keep going back and forth, taking it off the stand, zooming in, and then Fish would be like, "Hey, this is what we have here." He would show everybody while I had the camera, and then we do it like that. As we finally got our videographer, when it finally came to, he knew what he was doing. He knew how to do it, so he just said, "Okay, sit there, do this, do that," and you don't hear him on the cam because he's just a genius, and that's the like behind the scenes part that people don't realize is like he'll be actually talking to us throughout the video, telling
Okay.
us, "Hey, do this, do that, do this, make sure you do this, show me this." So like, but you'll never hear it because like he takes that out of it, which is just insane. So like he'll do that, and then we'll know, okay, this is what we need to do next, and then he makes sure that like. Before then, we have our photographer, which is his girlfriend. Actually, they're a couple. She takes the photos while we're in the kitchen doing whatever, and then going back and forth and whatnot. So it's just it's a lot of time. The videos normally, now we've gotten it down to about 4 hours. It used to take 6, 7, give or take, but now we've gotten out to about 3 or 4, depending on how extensive the menu is. Honestly,
As you're reviewing these restaurants and these places, do you actually eat the food or do you sample the food? I always wondered that. How can you keep doing that?
That was a big problem when we first started.
I
Yeah.
bet it
Because
was.
we would try to eat everything on our plates and
Yeah.
then try to do two videos in one day, and it was
Oh
just
my
like
gosh.
we can't maintain this. So then we started, before we got got Josue, we started, taking like eating half of each item and then taking it home, and that would be my bachelor food for the rest of the week.
Okay.
And then like nowadays we will take 3 or 4 bites, quarter the meat, about a quarter of each item. Then we would get to a stopping point, let our camera and video crew eat, and then we would continue on filming. Though there is admittedly sometimes where I just kind of keep nibbling at something till it disappears.
We learned that like you said, instead of the 2 videos a day, it was just like me and him. Like he was like, bro, I don't know if I could do this anymore. I'm like, yeah, me neither. Like because we don't do just the because the difference between us and other food vloggers is, first of all, we don't do primarily TikTok, we do YouTube.
Okay.
So it's a lot longer, and we've had a few people say, they should be shorter and stuff like that, but we're like, we want to actually honor the restaurants and show the
Love
actual
it.
food.
Oh God, I love it.
A lot of
That's
people
so
want to
cool.
do like 2 or 3 of the things that are like the most popular, but we want to make sure we showcase what the actual menu has. So what we do is we actually order at least probably like 5-6 dishes, I think, Fish.
So 12 is the average.
Yeah. So we order a
Wow.
lot. Yeah, we order like we try to order as much as the menu as we can because we want people to see everything that's on there. Because if you go on Google and you type in stuff, usually you'll see, if you type in whatever restaurant, you'll see, what the favorites of that restaurant are. And so people normally try to go with that. So what we want to do is get people to break away from that because it's nice and dandy, but like try everything they have on the menu because you never know what you're going to miss out on. So we
Right.
try everything. So what we do is, like you said, we take 2 or 3 bites of something, move on to the next one, 2 or 3 bites, and then by the time we're done, we'll sit down. Because a lot of the meals are just huge. So we sit down with our camera crew and we're like, hey, we want to make sure they can eat too because we want them to experience it so that they can know how to film it, how to shoot it, and how to really bring it to the audience to really understand it. So, we make sure they sit down. And I got that personally from Anthony Bourdain and
I
from
love them.
Phil
Oh,
Rosenthal. On
yeah.
somebody who
Yeah.
Phil, they share with their crew, and I'm like, I love that idea because first of all,
Yep.
we can't eat that much food. That's a lot of food. We're big dudes, but that's a lot of
Right.
food. So it's just
Except for
so
lobster.
yeah.
Except for
Oh no, lobster. There's been a few times where Fish has seen something and he's like, yeah, we're just gonna have to order another one because I'm finishing this one, and then I'll do the same thing because like we're just like, yeah, no, there's no way I'm just like I can't split this with you because I really want this. So then we'll just end up ordering another one for them to try, and they'll just split it between themselves. And then some of the food we've had has just been just phenomenally delicious.
Give us some examples. I mean, I know you can't have a favorite because like I don't have a favorite show. I love them all, but I'm curious, like, can you share a couple examples of food that you just never knew about and then you discovered?
Ooh, Fish, go ahead.
So far, we've primarily hit up things that I've usually have been to the country or have been near it.
Okay.
One big shocker for me was when one of our earlier videos was a Colombian place we went to.
Ooh.
Because I was like, oh, I've had Latino food before. It's going to be kind of spicy, and no heat. Like it was full of flavor, but no burning sensation at all.
Okay.
And so that was a huge shock, and just the way that they seasoned their steaks,
Mm-hmm.
and red beans and rice versus the way they would do it in the South. You know, then you go from the typical house level food that I'm more used to use one of the examples, Sparrow and Wolf, which was a place we did in Las Vegas,
I saw
and
that. Nice
that's
kitchen, by the way.
amazing
I was blown
kitchen.
away by the kitchen. You had me. I'm hooked on your show. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that one. I'm excited to put that one up very soon. We got a lot of stuff getting ready to be put up soon.
Okay.
That one is one of them. But we love. Yeah, like you said, it's just what people don't realize is there's a lot of cultures that are similar, but they're very. I mean, we're very cultured in terms of like our food. I don't think there's anything we've really eaten that we haven't had before to a point. It's just maybe different spices and flavors. The Colombian one versus like that's the one thing. Like for example, when it comes to like Spanish food, people don't realize like Puerto Rico, for example, is not very we're not like we love spice, but it's not something that we put within the food. Colombia versus like Mexico is different. Mexico is very spicy. It's meant to have with the hot sauces and stuff. And Fish, if you guys have seen our shows and stuff, Fish is one of the people who like he'll try spice if it's in the food. if it's something on the side of it, he's willing to try, but he's not gonna go like out of his way to like, where people do like the crazy spice challenges and stuff. Like
Yeah.
he'll try it if it's meant for it, but he's not trying to like kill himself, which is 100% understandable because I don't do onions. I don't do cooked onions. I just it makes me go crazy. There's been a few spots that I've been to that we've been to that I was like, okay, I would actually eat these onions, but they were kind of like, I guess because the texture wasn't, it was almost as if it wasn't there, but even though I could still taste it. Most of the food I think we've had before in some form or shape. It's just new flavors or surprising things, I guess, that would be a little bit more different. In terms of how our palates are working. But that's why we're excited to travel to all of our other places like the Caribbean. We're going to Bahamas in November,
Nice.
I think. So that one, I know we both. I've had Bahamian food before in the States,
Mm-hmm.
but not from Bahamas. Which that's what one thing we want people to know is like a food. Whether you have Chinese food, Chinese, whatever kind of food you have here in the States, it's 100% different when you go to the actual country.
So when you think about travel, right, either in the US or around the world, where are your favorite places and what were your favorite foods?
Oh.
So I'm actually on a road trip right now visiting family.
Nice.
And I did a 4-month car trip last year. And within the United States, I have to say New Orleans by far the best
New Orleans.
American
Yeah,
food.
man. Oh, yeah.
You can't go wrong with Nolans. And then, I went to some like 35 or 40 barbecue joints across the different states to try to like, okay,
Wow.
who has the best barbecue? And it's just like, oh, no, it comes down to region. Like Texas definitely wins brisket.
Yeah.
I think South Carolina wins pulled pork, stuff like that.
Cool. How about you, Poetic?
Within the United States, my gosh. I mean, God, that's such a crazy question. Hawaii is one of them. I love Hawaii.
Cool.
If you're talking about within the mainland, it just depends on what kind of food you're looking for. Because like, I gotta agree with like, in the South, the Southern food is just delicious. Like it's
Yeah.
it's just super good. And favorite food, probably honestly, oh God, within the United States, I mean, it's not really. I don't know. There's just so many foods that are just delicious. I've been on a huge Korean fried chicken kick lately.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's been that one. We have quite a few really, really good joints down here that are just like really amazing. Outside of the U.S., so far from everywhere we've traveled to, I mean, there's just so many good places. I mean, everywhere from Mexico to Denver to all over these different places. I mean, I love me some Jamaican food, if I'm being honest with you. When I went to Jamaica, this was on my own, but we're gonna be going there soon. But Jamaica the food there was just amazing. The people were just lovely. It was just a great time overall. I mean, if I had to choose a food in general, I'm a seafood whore, so like food all day. Seafood anywhere we go to, especially whenever we do our videos. That's one thing I kind of look forward to is like we like to see what kind of
I
seafood the
love it.
restaurant has. Yeah, so we've done a lot of videos where we have octopus in it and like octopus or squid. And me and Fish are always like, okay, let's see what's on there. And he's like, we're always comparing, which place that we like the octopus or squid from. And then we did like, our Castillo one in Bellevue, phenomenal food. Love the people there. It was just an overall good time. But me and Fish are always like looking for our next like seafood kick.
Okay. So that makes it easy, I guess, or hard if you look at like being in desert or something like in Arizona. I'm sure they have seafood now because with technology and cryovacking and other technologies, you can really preserve seafood so that it's fresh anywhere.
Funny you bring up Arizona. There's actually a lobster roll place called Angie's Lobster, $8 lobster rolls. And I found out about it from Mikey Chen. And when I went and visited my dad in Mesa, Arizona, he took me there and it's just like, for $8, you can't beat that deal.
I don't know, but Paige is with us here and she loves lobster rolls and she's from the East Coast. And, I just think it's interesting that we bring up lobster because I think that's one of her favorite foods. And welcome again, Paige. She's always here listening and supporting food.
I'm from the East Coast too. What part of the East Coast is she from?
New Hampshire.
I was born in New England. I was born in Holyoke, Mass, and raised in Worcester and Marlborough, and Boston, basically.
Is there anything you guys want to share about what you do or any special message?
For me personally, it would just be, I guess, just whatever it is that you want to do, especially when it comes to YouTube. For any YouTubers, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. It's a very difficult thing to learn how to do the marketing and do stuff and add stuff and post stuff. And you may get good feedback, you may not get a lot of good feedback, you may have haters and trolls and stuff, and you may have some reservations and doubts about continuing and pushing far. But like we were reading one time, it said like 3% of people actually reach 100,000 on YouTube. So it's a very low number. If anything there was to leave is just don't give up. It's not easy, but if you honestly really want to fulfill your goal and that dream, especially for YouTubers, of being a YouTuber, no matter what people say, no matter how they do it, it's going to be work. As fun as it can be, it's going to be work. It's going to take time. Whether you have money or not, it's going to take a while. Just keep pushing forward, keep doing what you love, because it'll eventually work. It's just all good things take time. All good things that you want take. We went from 2,000, from no followers to 2,000 to 50,000. And we're getting a lot of collaborations with stuff, with huge people right now, and that's because of work. We took our time, we communicated. Whether you're doing a duo or by yourself, just push forward. Don't give up, because it'll get there. It might take a year or 2 or 3. Don't think it's going to be an overnight sensation. Just really push forward and understand that it's going to take work. But once you get to that point, it's going to be the most satisfying thing ever. And if you continue to push that, it's just going to be where you're now doing what you love and it's not going to be work anymore. If you're doing the thing you love the most, it's no longer work. Now it's just fun. Now, granted, it's a lot of work, but it'll still be fun.
And as we wrap up, for a recap, what keeps you guys doing this? What satisfaction are you getting from putting all this work in? Because I know it's a lot of work behind the scenes. What is it that keeps you going and keeps you excited?
Food and culture is so tied closely together.
Mm-hmm.
And as you learn about the food, you learn about who those people are. And as you talk to the chefs, you listen to the passion in their voices and their humanism, the joy that they have in their work. And that kind of seeps into your own bones. And as you watch other people succeed, it just drives your own desire to go with them and go and make things happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I could feel the vibe from talking to Poetic. When we first met, we had a great conversation. I was like, I can't wait to have you on the show, just because of the work you do, and I just wanted to honor you guys in some way. I just keep doing it because I'm a fan, man. I've watched several episodes already, and I'm hooked. I have limited time, but I'm still hooked.
Thank you.
So, and I want to invite Paige if she has any questions. I know that she might have a couple burning ones, and we love you here in Food is Religion, Paige. So please feel free to ask these guys anything.
Well, I just got onto this interview, and I feel like I missed one of the best interviews. I can't wait to listen to play. I really love the advice that you gave about being a YouTuber. I'm trying to get my daughter into it, and she's a friend that actually is pretty successful at it. And I think it's like 1.13 subscribers. But he just came to visit, and they go on vacation together, and he is constantly on the phone taping himself. So I know it's a lot of work. I mean, it's your career, right?
Oh yeah.
But the way you just broke it down was so good for me to hear and understand. I can't wait. I'm going to make my daughter listen to this interview. But she just moved to Brooklyn yesterday. Yeah. But Michael, thank you for having these guys on here. And I'm definitely going to listen to replay.
Oh, they're so awesome.
And I just
If there's anything I can say to your daughter, the one thing I could say, which I know Fish would agree, is like it's not just as simple as just taking a video and posting it and then there you go. You want to make sure you have a good title, make sure you know what you're doing, make sure you love it. If you're tired, wait, because you want to make sure you look good on camera. But the biggest thing is, as much work as it's going to take, it's one of those where if you really have a passion and you really want to do this YouTube thing, it's going to take time. It's worth it 100%, because we've seen some people we've gone to and they're just like, oh my gosh, we know who you guys are, and they're like, it's just exciting to see people who understand it and love it, and it becomes a passion that it could take a year. Average person usually gets about 5,000 to 10,000 subscribers a year is the average. We got we got blessed, but even if it takes you 3-4 years, it's 3-4 years of work that if you're going to do it anyways, you might as well put it on YouTube. That was our biggest thing, was if we're going to be doing stuff like this anyways, going out to eat and doing stuff, why not post it anyway? So it'll take time. It might take a while, but it's one of those where, push forward. Don't give up. When you feel like, oh, I'm just done, it's not really going anywhere, don't give
Yep.
up, because that could be the day that it goes somewhere that you quit. So keep pushing forward, keep doing it, keep showing what you love, and you will get there eventually. It's just the people who get there are the people who have the most motivation.
Guys, I can't thank you enough. And Poetic especially, thanks for reaching out. I'm glad we could do this. And I really hope you enjoy your journey on Clubhouse, because it's amazing to be in this space.
Yeah, thank you for having us, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you for giving us this opportunity and letting us, tell people, what we do, how we do, and just, overall, just, giving us a platform to put it on.
And lastly, how can we follow you guys? I've got the Wandering Foodudes link up there, but are there other ways that they can connect?
Literally on all social media, it is the Wandering Foodudes. Foo is FOO, and then it's DUDES. On Twitter, we are the Roaming Foodudes, because I couldn't get Wandering because it was just too big. But
okay.
that's only because we couldn't get the name on. But if you go to our Instagram and or our YouTube, you'll find our link tree there, and that will literally bring you to all of our social media, and including our merch that we now have. We have a lot of merch now, so it's pretty cool. But you'll find our links there for all our things.
Well, thanks again, guys. It's been a total pleasure, and thanks for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on Facebook. Find our website in the show notes. Subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen. Leave a comment with 5 stars, and stay tuned for the next episode of Voice4Chefs.